Storyteller presents AskReddit question. What positive impacts do you think will come from COVID-19? I have started seeing family more regularly online playing games. I had no idea about Jackbox TV. It's been fun and never would have happened without the pandemic. Plus, older family members are bored and want to talk for literally an hour about mundane stuff. I've learned a lot about them that I'd never known my whole life. Plus, my dogs get a ton more exercise, and I've saved money not going out. Plus, I am eating healthier with my own cooking. Yeah, Jackbox. Jackbox has been raking it in during the quarantine. I bet they love COVID-19. The T-shirt game FTW. Mom bought Ark just so she could play with me, cause I normally live with my dad. I got to teach her the ropes of it, and we have our own personal server, and she's improved so much. My father has pulmonary fibrosis, which is going to kill him in the next year or so. It's a hereditary disease, which has affected 3 generations of our family in a row. You die from increased scarring of the lungs. Through research into COVID, there's already a fuck ton more understanding into the reversal of lung scarring, and potentially a cure on the horizon. I might not die a slow and painful death from this after all. Yay! They can reverse the scarring. Where can I read more about this? Mine got thrashed. Sorry man, there is not a way. Respiratory therapist here. And just like that, I am wrong. Web address. The best people in the world are the ones who can say, "Oh well, look at that, I am wrong." Shrug. The paper that they were referencing in the article was written in 2014. You fucker, you had me in that first half. Hey. I am sorry to hear that. My father had that condition and died 3 years ago. But he didn't suffer a slow and painful death. He caught pneumonia and died within a week. It was really fast, and we were there for him all the time. If anything, it caught us by surprise. Stay strong. As a legally blind person who's been frustrated for years about job prospects and finding something where I don't have to commute, COVID has been a godsend. Food delivery is great too. The downside is the increased cost of these items factoring in the cost of delivery. I guess if I am not paying for any car ownership expenses, it probably balances out. Back of the envelope, I am still in the black with all of the delivery costs versus what I would if I calculated it against vehicle wear and tear at $0.50 or mile and my time at minimum wage. There have been a few changes. Some things just don't work well, but on the whole it has saved money. We haven't ordered prepared food or been to any restaurants since March. I think a lot of people are realizing how terrible some of their relationships have been, whether it be with employers, spouses, family, etc. And I think a lot of people are just taking a lot less shit from people. I also think so many have revisited past hobbies, or taken up new ones, or truly became reacquainted with feeling at home in their homes. I think both these things will result in a lot of people just slowing down and reassessing what or who is worth keeping around in life. I know that's certainly been the case for me. I also think a large number of people who have experience working from home will now refuse to make commuting a part of their workday, which will eventually lead to a lot of changes to how we work. This may eventually lead to changes to housing prices in different areas, etc. Edit. Thanks for all these awards everybody, that's really cool. Yes, I am voluntarily moving away from my team, and into another one. My co-workers are fine, but the management are assholes, and COVID helped me realize life is too short. There are other opportunities out there. Yeah, it was actually quite interesting seeing all the news of divorce rates in IIRC, Japan, skyrocketing when they went into a major quarantine. Couples that had been happily married for years and years have their relationships detonate, because apparently, the secret to their happy marriage was never seeing one another. I work in a law-adjacent field in the US, and anecdotally, the number of new divorces we're seeing in our area is especially high. The number of divorces in marriages that are less than a year old, i.e., they got married in or after September of 2019, and have already filed for divorce is astronomical. I haven't seen as many quickie divorces in my whole career as I have in the past 3 months. Meanwhile, my parents, who have been unhappily married for decades, are doing fine. I asked this question to my teenage students, and many of them said that they now appreciate their families a lot more. They feel closer to their parents now, who are working from home or not on regular business trips. Between BLM and COVID, I am learning how terrible a lot of my family is. The new skills people have been learning. I've never even tried to plant anything, but I learned how to garden this year, and now have fresh peppers and tomatoes. A lot more curbside shopping and food options. Yes. I did a curbside pickup from IKEA, ordered over $1,000 online Friday morning, drove an hour to the store on Saturday morning, waited less than 5 minutes to be told which stall to park in, and they brought it all out. Loaded myself in 5 to 10 minutes, and off I went. Cost me $5 to avoid going into IKEA on a Saturday, plus if you're shopping alone, what do you do if you have 2 carts of stuff? Or even 1? I have to leave it on the loading area, and make a dash for the car, and hope no one takes anything. I'll be using it in the future for sure, and hope they do keep it going. I wish I had this option. My closest IKEA pickup for the things I wanted was over an hour away, even though the closest store is 20 minutes away. I have no idea why. My closest IKEA, period, is 5.5 hours away. Just a short flight away 25 minutes, a quick train 10 minutes, and then a swift 15-minute walk for Maine. I live on an island. This is going to be one of those changes that helps everyone, especially those who are sick, elderly, or disabled. Imagine getting a cold and having an easy way to pick up necessities with minimum interaction. Walmart debuted grocery pickup in our area, where you can literally shop online, pick a time window to go and pick up your groceries, and then when you get there you do a simple check and basically indicate which stall you parked in, and someone comes right out and loads your car and you're off. Fucking phenomenal. UK supermarkets have been doing this for a few years now. It's great for an after-work shop, saves so much time. I haven't used the service since COVID, as they prioritized customers who were in vulnerable categories, so it was hard to get a slot initially. Since then I figure we aren't highest risk, and can physically do the in-store shop, so should leave that click and collect service for those who really need it. Organizations with abysmally slow internet connections that have not been updated in decades will do so in order to support video conferencing. Or cries in Australian. I only recently learned of the plight of Australian internet. It genuinely baffles me that any first world country doesn't have readily accessible 100 to 1000 MB or internet available to most of its denizens. You can thank Rupert Murdoch for that. They gutted the fibre initiative in Australia because they were worried people would watch less of their shitty TV or propaganda networks. I swear the damage some of these billionaires have done to the world is unimaginable. A lot of them deserve the guillotine. Yep. I have always said Rupert Murdoch is the worst person to be born on Australian soil. I honestly can't wait until the old cunt parks it. His son is apparently worse. It's because our government is made up of old men who don't know what an internet is, so they're not interested in investing in that kind of infrastructure. Not old or incompetent, just corrupt, mate. Exactly. High-speed internet for all would remove the need for Foxtel, and Murdoch wouldn't be happy. Would also quicken the demise of the newspaper as a source of media, which would also not be good for News Corp profits. Best answer I've seen so far. It is nice seeing a set of files that had to be done before lunch so that the upload would be finished by closing time now being uploaded in 15 seconds. But then what do you do with all the extra time? Drive-in movies making a comeback. Yes, agreed. I hadn't been to a drive-in since the 90s, and thankfully they started popping up again here in California, so I was able to watch New Mutants and a bunch of classic actions movies this summer. More help for people with disabilities. Online ordering, grocery delivery, food delivery. It's been nice. Saves me energy when I can make an order for something and do a contactless pickup, and they just put it in my car when I drive up. Not everyone has energy to spare for simple things like groceries or errands. Also, improvements in telemedicine. I am a therapist that had to switch to teletherapy, and after an adjustment period I've grown to enjoy it. Sure, nothing beats the real thing, but now my service is available to the entire state, and not just whoever is nearby. Might see more rural folks getting help, which is desperately needed. Plus, one underrated issue. Doctor's appointments over the phone has been amazing for my chronic illness too. It means if I am having a flare and can't go to work, I don't have to waste energy driving to my GP to get a medical certificate when they've already got my full medical records as evidence anyway. It's also great that I now don't have to do a 6-hour round trip to the city to see a specialist for 15 minutes. It's all online or over the phone if I don't need a physical. Also, speaking of disabled people, this whole thing has proven that accommodations that have been denied to many, such as working from home and online access to college lecture content, are possible. It just took a pandemic for the able to realize. My blind girlfriend and I are already seeing more video appointments. This is something she has wanted since forever, since she can't drive. Now, insurance is taking DR and therapy appointments. There are many pickup options for stores at only little or no extra cost. This is good for someone who can't handle walking in the store. I am mildly physically handicapped and walking over 10 minutes hurts, so this is fantastic for people who are like me and worse. There are more delivery options for people who don't drive. I can see mask wearing while sick becoming more popular in the States even after this settles down, which will help healthy people not get sick as much with colds and help protect the vulnerable who might not handle the everyday cold as well. There's more, but that's my 2 cents. I work at a government hospital, and even after COVID, whenever that might be, they want up to 40% of visits to be virtual. Before the pandemic, I had put in proposals just to work 1 day a week at home, and they were always denied. Because of COVID, we got our proposals permanently approved, all the tech we need to work from home, and tons more server power to complete the virtual visits. It was the push we needed to create more options for patients. I am hoping that bathrooms in restaurants will become completely hands-free. I hate that the pull side of the door is on the inside, and usually there's no paper towel dispensers anymore to use as a glove to touch the sink or door handles. I vote for more foot pedal controlled faucets and toilets, because these motion sensors that never work make me question if I am a ghost roaming the earth. My dad is in a wheelchair, and this sounds like hell to me, but I am sure for lots of people it's great. Italy has it figured out. They're not pedals but large rubber buttons sticking out of the floor. You can roll over them easily. I was a patient at the Mayo Clinic during the summer, and they switched all of their bathrooms to touchless. It was magnificent. I was in a bathroom at a McDonald's with a foot pull the other day. Worked well. Hadn't seen that before. I think people are going to be a lot more conscious of germs, and just public surfaces in general. I know for me it's something I think about constantly now. Yes, for one generation. I think it'll be the same effect that children of war grow to respect and work against, but their children think they are being extra and overbearing. Yes. It left me no choice, but I had to publicly shame a grown-ass tourist man in front of his family for pulling down his face mask and purposefully sneeze on product, while everyone and myself were doing their shopping and following protocol. I used to be quite germophobic. During my time at uni, I was working on it, and by the end I felt free from constant need to wash my hands and feeling of having my hand plagued by bacteria. To then have the rest of the world turn very concerned with germs, it makes me feel strange, because I certainly don't want my old mindset back. It's already mitigated the stigma associated with working at home. I understand that some people can't handle working from home, but if you can, then it should be allowed. It makes you wonder if the point is to get your job done, or to micromanage your every action, because you're selling your time rather than your output. I understand that some people can't handle working from home, but if you can, then it should be allowed. Introverts, rise. Depends on your job too, though. I am getting texts from 6 a.m. to midnight 7 days a week from my boss when we work remotely, up to like 50 a day, compared to near 0 a week when working in the office. Gives me major anxiety. Doesn't help that most of them are useless or redundant, and he's somehow incapable of reading emails properly on his phone, which creates all kinds of communication issues. For WFH to work, you've got to have separation of your workspace and home space, so you can completely turn off and recharge after work finishes and be working efficiently the next day. You won't get that if your boss is using your personal phone for work messages out of hours. Yep. I use my cell for work, but only from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. After that, any number I don't recognize, or if it's work-related, goes to voicemail. They don't pay me enough to be answering my phone and emails 24/7. If that means I have 10 emails to tend to in the morning, that's fine. That's how it would be working in the office anyways. Had a previous boss with boundary issues like that. Solutions were, if they want to message you at home for work, they need to give you a work mobile cell. Then you can silence that thing to suit you. Otherwise they STF you and don't message you about work. If they're a freak working out of hours, they use time delay. Certainly Outlook has it. They can draft and click send on an email at vampire o'clock, but tell it to not be delivered until 9 a.m. the next day. Psychologically, it lets you know this is today's work and you don't come in feeling like you are already overdue. Plus stops email notifications at stupid times. But yeah, as others have said, set boundaries. It's not about being a dick. It is about you and your boss finding a sustainable way of working in this new world. Sounds like the boss hasn't quite worked it out yet either. Yep, if it's after normal hours, my bosses are kind enough to send a text if they need us for overtime, so we can pretend we didn't see it. I am an introvert, and I absolutely hate working from home. Home is my oasis from people. Now every meeting, social interaction, and workout happens in the same room, and I have zero escape. Yeah, I am an introvert too, and there's plenty I like about working from home, but only going 20 meters from my bed to work is not one of them. It's like you can never leave work. I used to do a dummy commute by walking round the block for 5 minutes after breakfast before starting work. Only when the weather was nice though. I start my new job Monday, and I might try this. Never worked from home before. Keep a routine. Wake up, grab a cup of coffee, shower, get dressed, and most importantly, if possible, keep your work area totally separate if possible. The bonus room or extra bedroom becomes the office, and everything it entails. Try the commute suggested above, and then clock in and clock out when you come and go from work. Also, you can work from home when you're sick enough to think you might be contagious, but not so sick you can't at least do something on your laptop in bed. Less use of sick hours, work is still getting done, and you're not putting others at unnecessary risk. If you have kids, then it's also easier to juggle. Like if they're little and can't be alone, or are too young for school, or you don't have summer care, or they're sick, then you can still get some work done while taking care of them. Hopefully we move away from the culture of working through illness. You're not tough for going in anyway. You're quite dumb. Also, you can work from home when you're sick enough to think you might be contagious, but not so sick you can't at least do something on your laptop in bed. This is exactly why more work from home options would make it so a lot of people with chronic health problems could actually work instead of not working at all. IBS guy here. I love WFH. Without the ability to WFH a couple days a week, I would be struggling to find steady employment. I am just about to start my first proper job, and I suffer from anxiety and depression. I sometimes have days where I can't face having to deal with other people, and the thought of having to go outside makes me cry, but I can still focus. I am looking forward to being able to say to my boss, I can't come into work today, I am not well enough, but I can work from home. I sincerely hope you are able to do that. There are still plenty of employers not willing to compromise, trust me. I tried to do this before with an old boss. A couple of years ago, I asked permission to work from home because I am feeling sick, but not too sick not to work. I was told, no, you're sick, then you're sick, there's no in between. Okay. I was just trying to be a good employee and work if I can even if I am feeling a little blue, so I just used my SL. Now I have anxiety thinking that we'll eventually be forced to go back to the office. I have found this as well. Before COVID I was fighting with my boss to allow me to work from home, and she kept claiming one of the directors was against it. Now thanks to COVID I've been working from home for 5 months. I feel much more productive at home. The company I work for was adamantly against working from home. They knew employees did it on occasion, but the stance was you need to be here. I think it had something to do with the very fancy office building they pay for, but they always claimed it was for productivity. COVID hits, everyone telecommutes, and productivity goes up literally 300%. When they do reopen the office they are starting a remote work program. This will be the hardest thing for me to go back to. I've proven to my organization already that I can do a great job from home, so I am really curious to hear what excuse they'll have to warrant making me go back into the office to do that same work. For my company it's going to be security reasons, which is basically bullshit, because if we as a company can move tens of thousands of employees worldwide to their homes, and not have a single issue, then us staying at home shouldn't be a problem either. Sadly they won't just say, because we would really like to micromanage the shit out of you, and engage in cliquey office politics. That'd be saying the quiet part out loud. My company has already sent round surveys asking if once it's possible people would prefer to go back to the office, stay working from home permanently, or do a mixture. It's nice working for people who respect you. People might finally start washing their hands. I worry that people will suddenly become even less hygienic than before for a while. Basically, it's over. I don't have to wash my hands anymore. Oh, just do it for political points, because the world is so fucking polarized over everything now. You sheep keep using this pandemic to push your masks and hand washing. Next you'll tell me I am supposed to brush my teeth. Not today, big dental. Live free and without teeth or dye. Toothpaste is designed to weaken your teeth, so you become more reliant on brushing and going to the dentist. Humans survived for generations without dental practices. I am onto you, big dental. If we needed toothbrushes to survive, we would have evolved brush fingers like some sort of freakish Edward scissor brush. It's only a temporary buff. Once the next generation arrives, it will be forgotten. Seen it happen many times. I think we need to start science a little bit earlier in school. There was a time when people didn't wash their hands at all, pandemic or no. I think we made some progress before COVID. True, but I give that credit to Isaiah Rogers, inventor of indoor plumbing, and Joseph Lister for hand washing. They cut through the BS when no one believed them, and now we reap the benefits. As has happened with science countless times throughout the ages. I do think hand washing trends with education, which has also been drifting up globally. Just not fast enough for my liking. It's absolutely criminal of me to forget about Semmelweis here. He endured so much criticism from his peers, and yet he persevered. Don't forget the AUG scientist that pushed for hand washing. Ignaz Semmelweis. Poor dude was considered insane and ridiculed in the medical community for trying to get people, specifically doctors, to wash their hands. It took about 20 years before Lister came and advocated for hand washing. They considered him literally insane. He was sent to an asylum and died of a preventable infection 14 days after admission. My college suite mate still doesn't wash his hands. My dad still doesn't cover his mouth when he coughs. I've started just saying, fucking gross. People tend to react to shame. People tend to react to sham. If they have any, that is. People also tend to double down from any opposition. Yeah, but it's not always the reaction you want. They might just stick the words fucking gross on a flag and fly it from the back of their truck. Or in the case of my dad, he's now realized that this is a surefire way to get a rise out of you, so in the future he will purposely seek you out to cough and sneeze on you. God, I wish I was joking. For a few weeks, then everything goes back the old way. More employers might realize that jobs can be done remotely, allowing more flexibility. More work-from-home positions might open up. Indeed, office space is extremely expensive, and at this point they'll likely realize how much money they're wasting, money that could be going back into the business. If there's any positive economic connotations to this foobar, it is this, and the further rise in tech. And this has the side effect, positive for most who may want to start a business, of lowering commercial real estate costs. Rents got to go down. Expect a lot of commercial to residential conversions in the coming years as lease events come up and companies opt to shrink their real estate footprint. Source: Construction project manager currently running a program management office for a publicly traded company. You said it. The rent is too damn high. Imagine being a stakeholder in WeWork. My company just spent a ton on their own office tower. I knew it was a bad idea from the start. Sure, it's a big company and can afford it, but that money could have gone elsewhere. My grandparents always taught me, if you can afford rice, eat congee. As in, you could eat rice for a week, or you could stretch it out and eat congee rice porridge for 2 weeks. It may be less luxurious, but your stomach is equally sated, and you just saved half your money. Don't worry, if online ads are any indication, then apparently all of us could already work from home, and make like 5K a week doing it. Are you the lonely moms near me? Our office of 3,000 has been working at home, at the same level of productivity since March, and we're staying remote at least until the new year. They mentioned in an online town hall that a lot of our positions may never go back to an office setting, at least not full-time. I think it's great. I love working from home. I could see that being a two-edged sword, TBH. If nothing else, it shifts the balance of power pretty significantly in favor of employers. It probably would have ended up happening sooner or later anyway, though. In NZ, and totally agree. Workplaces are going back to some semi-normality, and the power balance between employees and employers is worse than ever. Everyone thinks they will be able to negotiate stuff like WFH. The truth is, negotiating is non-existent when the job market is so full of people looking, and you're so much more replaceable post-COVID. Sorry to be negative on this positive thread, LOL. I am enjoying all the happy stuff. Working remotely isn't the worst, but dear God, I didn't think people's communication skills could get any worse. Where I work, we just went full remote. They put the available for lease sign up on the building yesterday. It's bittersweet seeing it, but I absolutely love not going into the office. Honestly, I think and hope it's going to lower barriers to work for people with disabilities. Offices and buildings are supposed to be ADA compliant, but that's only a small part of it. Remote work holds promise and opportunity for a vast pool of talent who have been sidelined because they can't get to the interview or don't get the role because they showed up with braces or a wheelchair. It won't reach everyone, but I hope it'll reach many more people whose talent has been disregarded. Sociologically, I hope we see paid sick days become normal in the US. Scientifically, I hope we can learn from this to develop good vaccines for a bunch of other existing diseases that have eluded us so far. In Australia we have paid sick leave, but we don't use them when sick. We keep them for nice days and chuck a sickie and go to the beach. People with the flu or cold wearing masks and taking precautions to not infect others. Seriously, pre-COVID I can't explain with exasperation the amount of times I've seen people that were clearly sick, coughing, wheezing, and sneezing just carrying on about their lives like it doesn't affect those around them. I used to work at a Sprint store, and a lady brought her sick kid in once. The kid threw up all over the floor. The lady was like, "Oh yeah, we just came from the DR, she's got the stomach flu. And then you brought her with you so you could upgrade your cell phone and infect everyone in the store." Doesn't help that I was fairly pregnant at the time and paranoid about catching stuff. I really don't understand some people's choices. As a parent who has had a kid throw up in a store, I'd never bring my child to a store if I knew they were sick. In my case, my child was acting fine before we got to the store and complained he wasn't feeling well in the dairy aisle before puking all over the place and all over me. Also, kids are pretty bad at identifying when they're sick. Usually, if I get any warning at all, it's my tummy hurt, puke. I really don't understand some people's choices. They're dumb and selfish and couldn't care less about others. Honestly, the mindset of staying away from things while sick is really not a thing that has existed in American society. I remember getting praised for showing up for an event despite having a 102 fever when I was a kid. It's something that our culture has really just gotten wrong that we only realize now because of coronavirus. Or not sending their child to school or after-school activities when they're clearly sick. I've coached gymnastics and now teach at a school, and I can't tell you how many times a child has had a coughing or sneezing fit, or been extremely tired and, when I check on them, tell me they're sick. I've even had parents try to legitimize it when I inform them their child can't be in class, saying that it's only a slight fever, or it won't affect their participation. My school allowed only 3 non-excused absences per school year. You had to get a doctor's note after that. Most times when people were sick it wasn't worth the expense of a doctor's visit. One of my parents grew up in the USSR, immigrated to the States in the 90s, told me growing up how absolutely ridiculous it was that schools forced sick kids to go infect everyone, and when someone was super sick back when they were a kid, the doctor made a house call. Didn't have to take your puking self onto the subway to see a doctor. I find doctor's notes stupid. If I am too sick to get out of bed, I cannot go to the doctor either. Telehealth saved my butt the other day when I was too sick to leave bed. I hope it stays. They also were livid that the call center I worked at allowed only 5 sick days a year, and said that they shouldn't be surprised when everyone is sick all the time, and they are maliciously allowing everyone to infect each other. Makes me really question a lot of the things that people think are reasonable. This is still the system in Russia and possibly other former USSR countries, I am not sure. If you have a fever you call your local clinic, and they will send you a doctor for free. He looks you over and gives you sick leave from school or work. The minimum is 3 days, after which point you go to the clinic to check out. If you still have a fever he will come to you, or it's prolonged until you're completely better. If a child gets sick leave, one of the parents can claim the same period of time off to take care of the child. Usually people are out for about a week, and by law you are not required to work or go to school until your sick leave is cleared. Showing up coughing and sneezing, or especially with a fever, is considered strange and inconsiderate. The only downside is your pay is reduced during that period, but personally I am fine with that. I really wish this was the system in the US. It would really improve overall health. As a parent, my wife and I have never done this, but we unfortunately know too many people who have. My kid threw up and had a 100 degrees fever, but I gave him some Tylenol, so he should be good, right? No, your kid is not good. Keep him home so he doesn't infect everyone else. I went from being the kid who faked sickness to get out of school to the stupid adult who will work through illness because it's not that bad. You weren't getting paid to go to school. When schools have strict attendance policies, they bring that on themselves. Just an FYI, schools only get money for students when they are at school. It is called average daily attendance. That is what drives the attendance policy. However, the State Board of Education or state legislature sets that standard. If it were up to schools, it would be based on enrollment, not attendance. So don't like the policy, we are on the same side here. I don't like it either, then you have to place the blame where it is due. Schools lose a lot of funding because of this. Great UN and friendly reminder why we need to invest more in education to avoid crap like this. As someone who used to work in the restaurant industry, let me unfortunately inform you that it is the norm to show up to work while sick. Post-COVID, if conditions in the industry don't change, this will remain the standard. Hygiene. I am usually sick all the time, but I haven't been sick a day since lockdown. We've been open back up for months now with social distancing and extra hygiene measures in place everywhere. It's stunning. My kids haven't been sick either. It's like a miracle. Who knew people's gross hands and spittle was impacting my life so much? That actually explains why I haven't been sick since January. I usually get sick around June and September like clockwork, but I feel fine. In college, I would get sick every January like clockwork. I haven't gotten sick once since I graduated years ago. College classes, bars and parties are breeding grounds for germs. Probably built my immune system up a lot though, lol. Always wearing a mask has gotten rid of any opportunity for me to get sinus infection. First year I've gone without one for about a decade. Same. My kids brought home every bug that was going around their school. We always washed their hands when they got home from school, but I am sure they didn't wash their hands at all during school. We haven't been sick since schools closed, and it has been amazing. We had preemies in June, and it was comforting knowing that they wouldn't get sick as soon as we brought them home because kids weren't in school. Some people may not agree, but I am really hoping all the online ordering and contactless delivery keeps going. Mail carrier for USPS, and I wholeheartedly agree with this. Always nice to have validation for what I do for a living. UPS driver here, I agree with you. We're in this together. Stay safe out there. I've been doing it for 6 years now, and this year has really shown me how important what we do for a living is. I've been thanked probably in the thousands of times now. Thank you so much for what you do. People like me are relying on you right now. Pleasure is all mine. I love what I do. Knowing how much people such as yourself rely on us only makes it better. Don't forget to thank your regular carrier. My regular carrier just leaves stuff at the porch and books it out. He wears a mask and makes it a point not to get close to people. Should I leave him a note or something? Yeah, absolutely. I've gotten like 20 cards from people on my route. A few of them have been from people I've never even seen or talked to. A simple note or thank you card would be more than enough. A lot of carriers save them and hang them on their visors in their trucks or on their desk back at the office. I love this contactless delivery. I am a people person, but someone physically handing you food at your house is awkward sometimes. Leave and go is great. Hard same. I don't mean to be rude, but my dog is an old man, and he loses his every loving shit every time someone comes to the door. It's so much easier to just distract him long enough for the food to be dropped off and grab it once the delivery driver is gone. Way less noise and stress. People might prefer working from home, which means more jobs and flexibility for businesses. It would be kind of similar to day and night shifts, if you know what I mean. Yeah, and more quality time to live life working from home, in lieu of the driving rat race, etc., etc. I love working from home. I think it would be perfect like 2 or 3 days a week. Not having to wake up at 7 to wear uncomfortable clothes to hop on a crowded subway to stand for an hour. It's great. I heard from a friend who left on bad terms 5 years ago. I got the most heartfelt apology, and we are planning to hang out soon and catch up. It's the best thing that's happened to me all year. Man, I would love for that to happen. I'd have to unblock them though. Have I forgiven them? I'll think about it now thanks to you. I decided to give a couple of those apologies since COVID started. No dice yet. Reduced carbon emissions, I guess, from the lack of cars on the road. Also less air traffic. Weather prediction has been less accurate lately because there have been fewer planes flying and gathering the data. Today I learned weather predictions rely on commercial planes. Well, the government uses them to spray weather-controlling chemicals in the sky, so obviously, without them flying we can't control the weather as much. Or how do I write to my local senator to tell them to turn down the temperature? I am getting tired of this 100-degree bullshit. Hopefully it spurs more businesses to let people work from home, because when the economy get opened back up again, all the emissions basically just return to normal, so even that benefit is just temporary for now. I've been working from home since March, and will be until the end of the year at least. My company sent out a survey asking how often we'd want to work from home if COVID-19 wasn't a concern. I said 3 days a week. I'd still want to go in a few times for face-to-face interactions, but I could easily do 3 days at home and 2 days in the office. Honestly, since COVID I really likes the rule of extra space when in line. Hate people just breathing on my shoulder while we were in line. Also hated strangers sitting next to me on an empty bus and it stopped. It's a bit of a pipe dream, but I am hoping there will be a newfound respect for those working in the service industry. Currently doing restaurant work, people still suck LMAO. And I've seen some people say, well, the people who do care are staying home. And I find it very hard to believe. It's embedded within our culture to look down upon those who make less money than we do, and to also see service workers as owing them for paying their wages even though they're not. So yeah, I hate to say it, but I think it's totally a pipe dream. People washing their hands after peeing. It's not rocket science, dudes. At my workplace, when I am in a cubicle, I still hear guys take a dump and walk out after washing their hands. I wish there was a big flashing light outside like in the Far Side comic saying didn't wash hands. Ordering food and drinks at a pub through your phone. While we're talking restaurants, to-go cocktails are the shit. I hope they stick around. So many people are going to be seeking mental health support. In my personal experience, I have been suffering with social anxiety and bottling up my feelings. I could never bring it up to my doctor because I was so afraid of crying and making a fool of myself. Now that phone and video doctor sessions are available and encouraged, I was able to talk to someone without fear of crying in public. I am now going to therapy and in the process of being diagnosed with anxiety. I am sure there are many stories like mine out there. Just figured I'd add, if anyone needs to hear it, that you are never alone. It's so hard at first to reach out for help, but it is so worth it. The derailing of facial recognition technology. Even if we're just putting off the inevitable, I am very okay with delaying it for a few more years. On the other hand, gait recognition technology, yes, depressingly it is a thing, has probably progressed in leaps and bounds in the meantime. One might even say this technology is making unmistakable strides. Hopefully people will be more conscious of personal space. I am not a touchy-feely person before this, and it's been nice that people aren't invading my bubble hardly now. As someone who is extremely introverted, it's a blessing to get to stay home all day with an excuse. Agreed. Social anxiety way down. No more Sunday dread. Many people are starting to realize that a lot of celebrities are pretty worthless and pathetic when they're not the center of attention for 5 seconds. Wow. You are still with us. Thanks for being such a nice person. As long as you are here, why not like this video and subscribe to our channel? Also, you can press the bell icon so you won't miss any future uploads.